this album was very eclectic and diverse, and experimented with reggae, with swing, with funk, and with 50s rock. And it was also inspired by people like James Brown and George Harrison. So stay tuned and find out the #6 ranked album by Led Zeppelin. Everybody, welcome back to Red Mug Music. I'm so glad you could be with me today. I'm pretty stoked, as you can see, to be talking about this #6 album. This is probably, I'm going to say, my favorite album out of all of the Led Zeppelin catalog. And I'm kind of afraid that maybe being my favorite album, I underranked it rather than overranked it. And so I'm not exactly sure. So let me know after you find out what it is, if you think this is too low or too high. I would love to know. So a little bit about this album. On this album, Led Zeppelin expanded their musical style, and the songs and arrangements became a lot more sophisticated than you've seen in the past. I recall there being like non-standard guitar tunings, which I thought was pretty cool. And their sound did change from their previous several albums. And it became more of a cleaner, more expanded and brighter sound and tones. And maybe that's why I really like this album. It's just, I love this album. And I think another reason why I like this album so much is because back in college, somebody introduced this album to me. And it was really the first Led Zeppelin album that I listened to over and over and over and over again. So I just became very used to it. And I just love it. So the album I'm talking about is none other than Houses of the Holy. I love this album, and yes, it's the #6 album. I really feel like it needs to be like #3 or #2, or heck, for me, it's #1 because it's my favorite album. But I just couldn't do that, you know. And again, I'm kind of afraid I ranked it 6 and where it should be 5 or 4, just because I'm afraid of overranking it, just like I said. But it's going to be 6. That's where we're going to put it. Now, some information, some really cool, interesting facts about this album. I wrote a lot of stuff down in my research here. Here's some interesting facts. Now, Robert Plant's voice was sped up in the first song, which is called "The Song Remains the Same." And that song was actually intended to be an instrumental. It started out as an instrumental, but they ended up using it for this album. The Rain song was inspired by George Harrison, like I said. After George Harrison made the comment that he thought that Led Zeppelin never played any ballads. So they're like, okay, we'll play the Rain song. And then the Crunge was written by Bonham, and he wanted to create a song. I thought this was so funny. He wanted to create a song that you just could not dance to, which I think is hilarious. So play the Crunge and try to dance, see what you come up with.
It's dancing.
No, that ain't dancing, Sally.
I dance fine.
And comment down below, let me know if you were successful, because I wasn't successful at all. Anyway, so I thought that was very cool. And the next interesting fact is, I always call this song Dire Maker, but I think it's more like Dear Maker. Again, comment down below. Let me know like how to say this, because I've always said Dire Maker, but that's because I wasn't thinking about it. But this song was said to not be a well thought out song, but however, Robert Plant wanted it to be a single, but the rest of the band said absolutely not. So they decided not to release that song. And No Quarter was slated for the 4th album, the one before this. And it was later reworked, adding piano and synthesizers. And it felt like it fit in better to this album. So I'm kind of glad that happened. And the song called The Ocean refers to the group's fans and their devotion to the band. So when you hear the song The Ocean, that's about the fans, because I'm sure there was an ocean of them during this time. And you think about the Kiss Army, you know, they're just extremely devoted to their band, and they always were and always will be. And that's what they were talking about here, how they were the fans were very devoted to the band, which is pretty cool. And last, the title track, Houses of the Holy, didn't actually make it to this album and was later slated for Physical Graffiti, which is coming up soon, or maybe it's number 1, number 2, I don't know. And it was slated for that album, which I thought was extremely strange. It ended up sounding like another song on the album, so they just went ahead and removed this one, but it just seems like they would have removed the other song and put that song on Physical Graffiti because it's just really strange. I don't know. So that's some interesting facts about this album. In 2006, Houses of the Holy landed at number 90 on the top 100 greatest British rock albums ever. So that's a good thing. And then it was number 278 on the Rolling Stone magazine greatest albums of all time. I very often refer to the Rolling Stone greatest albums of all time just to get ideas of what to listen to. Does anybody know, without looking, does anybody know what the number 1 Rolling Stone greatest album of all time is? Comment down below. Let me know who it is. Do not cheat. I'll know it. And that's it for that. Now let's circle back and talk about that album cover. The album cover, as you see here, is a little confusing and it's a little uncomfortable, but I've always, it's always been the album cover, and it's just not a big deal. Nobody cares, but it's just kind of strange that that's what the album cover is. The photo shoot for this cover took place in Northern Ireland and featured only 2 children. And they were supposed to look like they were feral. And the photos were taken in black and white and then multi-printed to create the illusion that there were 11 children total. I think there were, 6 on the front and the rest on the back. But they weren't very pleased because the weather wasn't really cooperating, but they just took what they got. And come to find out in post-production, when they were working on the photo, there was like a tinting mishap. Isn't that always the case? It was like a happy mistake. And they created a cover that they actually liked, so that's what they went with here. So pretty cool. But anyway, I just wanted to quickly go over this album. I don't want to say too much about it. Again, this is one of my favorites. I've been listening to this since my college days, so I absolutely love this album. But let me know down below what you think. Do you like this album? Do you not like this album? Is it in your rotation usually? Is it not? Do you ever think about it? If you don't, you need to, because this album is fantastic. So that's going to be it for me this week. I'm really glad that you guys can hang out with me, but don't forget, I'm on Instagram at Red Mug Music. I've been ramping that up, trying to post every couple days. So check that out. I've been putting some Did You Know facts on there about these albums. So it's a little bit of extra additional information that you may not get in the video. So check that out and subscribe there, or like the page and the post. I would appreciate that. And also don't forget to take a few minutes, actually just a few seconds, to just subscribe to the channel. And if you want to, you can click on the bell. And if you do that, you'll be the first to find out when I put a new video out, because you'll get a notification. And you don't want to miss number 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's going to be it for me this week. I appreciate everyone, and I'll see you next time.